After a brutal 24 hours of sideways price action, Bitcoin has now touched on the tippy top of the 2-week make-or-break pattern that will decide everything. This may be Bitcoin's last hope in the short term for a massive bouncage. But now there's only one question left to ask. Does Bitcoin have enough thrust to bust? I'm your host, Carlos Casting Couch, and on this channel we sit you down, butter you up, and what comes next depends entirely on your consent. Goodness gracious, what an absolutely rump-episode we have today, as yesterday was perhaps one of the most boring days of price action that I have ever seen. Every time I looked at the chart yesterday, I swear it was literally almost the exact dollar, meaning it barely did anything. Now today we are getting that retest of the top, guys, and this is a make or break moment. As I said in my last video, basically, I think that we're going to be seeing a decisive move the first week of this month, and I think it's going to be sooner or later. I think we're going to know actually within the next 24, 48 hours, and kind of confirm if we are actually going to be heading up here in a very nice breakout pattern. And once and for all, putting all of the doubt behind that in fact, yes, 30,000, even slightly below that, 29,000 on some exchanges, was in fact the Bitcoin bottom. And even though I do believe that is the case, that does not mean that it is straight up from here. Also, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on these absolutely time-sensitive alerts. And without any further magoo, let's dunk on it. Jaw-dropping. Absolutely insane, guys. So before we get into this absolutely monumental, groundbreaking news with Bitcoin, $270 billion fund Gugu Guggenheim is seeking Bitcoin exposure, SEC filing shows. And guys, I'm sure you're all familiar with Scott Minerd from Guggenheim. Absolutely wild. We've been covering him for months and months. I remember even back in last quarter of 2020, we were talking about him a lot. Minerd has a lot of predictions, right? Saying Bitcoin could fall 50%, but also saying that it could be valued at pretty much $500,000. And in fact, I mean, one of the main reasons Scott is in the headlines so much is because he kind of switches stance and gives big predictions all of the time. However, what we see here, Gugu Guggenheim is seeking exposure to Bitcoin as part of a new fund. A filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, showed yesterday, guys. So investing in crypto, mainly Bitcoin, as part of a larger bracket of traditional and alternative assets. So guys, again, my point of saying this here, technicals and then the emotions of the market are interesting. They're something we look at every day, but really how important are they? Realistically, they're not that important. At the end of the day, we have to look at what people are doing, not what they're saying, okay? Because every day what they say flip-flops. For example, Scott, it seems like every single week, right? Or at least a couple months ago, every single week he was putting out a new prediction. Bitcoin's going to go to 500,000. Bitcoin's going to crash to 15,000 or 20,000 or whatever he said. Bitcoin's going to do this and that, and it switches all the time. But guys, what are they doing? What are they actually doing? They're getting into crypto. They're offering it. They're trying to find ways to get involved, and they're trying to find new ways that they can make money from it. So pretty much, if we look at what they're doing instead of what they're saying, because what they're saying changes every second, but what they're doing does not change, okay? And this has been the story for, like the past 13, 14 or so months, since kind of like early 2020, ever since really March and April of 2020, guys. Institutions, billionaires, not just regular retail investors. Basically, at this point, everybody that is worth listening to in terms of like the financial space, in terms of these actual economic juggernauts, guys, they're all getting into cryptocurrency. So if Bitcoin crashes 50% like it did over the last few weeks, do you think that the smart move is to run and hide like a little diaper-filled baby, sell all your crypto, and never come back? Go ahead and do that if you want, but if you have a brainstem, it's very, very clear what is going on these charts. And every little opportunity of the FUD working and shaking people out honestly shocks me at this point, because it's happened time and time again. And if people continuously fall victim to this same old story, the literal China FUD, for example, we've seen that literally hundreds of times. And when people fall victim to it over and over, year after year, then really it's their fault. There's nobody else to blame but themselves for getting fudded out of probably the biggest opportunity of the last 100 years. So to sum it up, a $270 billion fund is seeking Bitcoin exposure, and I'm going to be staying in crypto because that is where the future is. Wow, so as we pointed out, we do have this actually mega bearish cross that we've been tracking for days and days now, okay? It's been a few days now since we've had this cross. However, Bitcoin is, making a move to the upside. If we go to this hourly chart, guys, as we talked about here, we made our last video, I believe it was like price was right about here. We had that little cross and we said, okay, we had another bullish cross. We're probably going to end up attempting this again. And now this is the attempt. So it's still very early on and there's been no confirmations just yet. This is literally in the middle of the attempt. So this is not a confirmation of a breakout. It's not a confirmation of a rejection right now. And this can play out over, a couple of days. This is not going to only be immediately. Let's say we do get a move back down to 36. That doesn't necessarily mean that the breakout failed. Give it some time, see how robust the breakout is. But this is a make or break moment because, guys, if we fail here, it's very likely that, again, we're going to be swinging to the exact opposite side, coming back down to 35,000 again. And if we fail there, and specifically if we wick down to 34 and do not get immediate bounce, then this pattern is most likely going to break to the downside. So this is a key critical moment. If Bitcoin wants to remain strong here, and if it actually wants to have a bullish reversal, within the next day, 24 to 48 hours, that is when it needs to happen, in my opinion. It's very soon. So this is a pattern that's been tracked, and it's been on these charts since the May 19th crash here. It's been forming and consolidating, and this is Bitcoin's major attempt, I think. We're going to be seeing it here. If we go to the 4-hour chart as well, guys, we have a bullish cross on the 4-hour coming up in just a few more ticks of the 4-hour chart here, but as well on the 6-hour. This is something we've been tracking much longer, and it's much more important, I think, because the last time we had a cross here was all the way back here, May 12th, and it was a bearish cross, and it signaled the top of the market for the short term. Okay, 57 straight down to, cut in half, under 30,000. So this is truly make or break for Bitcoin. There are those bullish signals here, okay, but we've been getting bullish signals and we've been getting rejections. But again, in my opinion, this is like if Bitcoin really wants to have a reversal here, we're going to have to see it very, very soon. We're going to have to see it before this upcoming weekend. We're going to have to see it this week, definitely. And basically the biggest test that Bitcoin hasn't even been able to touch for about a week now is just getting back above 40K. So if we actually can come back up to 40K, that's a very good first sign. And again, that would be more of a confirmation this is actually a breakout. Now, again, even with the breakout, sometimes you get, most of the time you get the retest. So we get a breakout here to 40K, then we get pushed back down to the top of this triangle, come back down to 37,000, but then continue head up. Again, that would still be absolutely fine. Just because we're at this critical level and we might get a few rejections over the next couple of hours doesn't mean anything. You have to play it hour by hour, day by day. But so far, again, guys, I'm putting a lot of weight on this, and I'm talking about this a lot, and I have been over the past few days because I personally think this is pretty much it for Bitcoin. Like, it needs to perform here. It needs to have something really spectacular happen here. Otherwise, let's be realistic. It looks like another bearish drop would be coming if we cannot even get a breakout here. After consolidating for over 2 weeks, after a toe-tickling drop like this, guys, this is one of our last hopes. So realistically, this is what I'm watching here. We need to see Bitcoin gain momentum over the next 24 hours. And if it does not, that is not good for the prospect of a short-term bullish bounce. Oh, so you guys are new to the channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn these absolutely time-sensitive alerts. Make sure to get your hardware wallets below and all the bonuses. And without any further ado, that's it for me. Bye-bye.